with that out of the way, let's go ahead get into this college football playoff game and what I think is going to happen. So this is going to be the matchup between Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, and the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, compared to all the other games that happen in the college football playoffs, I think this one is going to be like the most back and forth game we've seen so far. We've seen close game. Well, not really close games. We've seen a close game already. That was Texas going up against Arizona State. That was the closest game of the entirety of the college football playoffs. And while it was close, it wasn't back and forth. Arizona just was able to make a comeback in the second half of the game and looked like they were almost going to win, but ultimately Texas ended up showing why they were the better team and why they belong in the SEC. And while that game was close, again, it wasn't back and forth. I think this game is going to be pretty back and forth. This is going to be a really gritty game. Both of these teams are really good at running the ball. Not, in my opinion at least, not very strong at the quarterback position. I know Penn State's quarterback has been having a really solid year, but I'm just not that big of a fan of him. That's just me, though. I'm sure most of you guys would disagree with that, especially all of you Penn State fans. But I really think this is going to be the game is going to be decided by which team can run the ball more effectively and which team can get the most stops on defense. And I think it's going to be relatively back and forth. Now, I don't think it's going to be like a really high scoring game, like nowhere near as high of a scoring game as Ohio State going up against Oregon. But then again, Ohio State was doing most of the scoring there. I don't think it's going to be that high of a scoring game. I think it's going to be a little bit of a low scoring. Maybe both teams end up scoring around like 20 points, but that's about it. Because both of these teams, in my opinion, like their passing game is still a little bit meh, and I think both defenses are really, really good. And because of that, I think it's going to mitigate the rest of the other team's offense, whichever side. And really, it's going to come down to whichever team can end up breaking off either a big play or a big run to win the game in the end. And the team that I have winning in this matchup between these two teams is not the Nittany Lions. And normally I would have picked them, but I'm going to go ahead and pick Notre Dame in this one. I know Notre Dame has a history of disappointing its fans, and they don't really, whenever they do make it into a playoff game or whenever they do play a playoff game, they almost always disappoint. But I think it's going to be different this time. And there's also a former teammate of mine that's on Notre Dame, RJ Oben. He plays on the defensive line, and he's a starter for that team. I really hope that he succeeds. Obviously, you want your former teammates to succeed in whatever it is that they do. And similar to Cody Simon on Ohio State, I would love to see them succeed and win this important game, because these types of games are the type of games that scouts are going to tune into, and it could end up boosting your draft stock. Like, I wasn't entirely sure whether Cody Simon was going to get drafted, but once he became the defensive player of the last game that Ohio State played against Oregon, then my opinion on that completely changed. I think that a lot of teams were going to look into that a little bit more closely. And really, I really hope for a good game in this one, because it's been a very lackluster NCAA postseason, in my personal opinion. A lot of these games, we only had one close game, and the rest of the teams that were in the college football playoffs, a lot of people are making the argument that they didn't even belong in the college football playoffs, and that maybe you need to bring in some other SEC teams, or maybe a team like Boise State should not have been in that situation. And to be honest, I think that Boise State kind of got unlucky in terms of going up against Penn State, because Penn State had the perfect counter to Boise State and their and since Boise State is heavily reliant on the rush, Penn State was very good at defending the rush, especially when all you had to do was make sure that Ashton Genty wouldn't break off several tackles. Like, it was very easy to sort of counter that game plan, and they had the athletes to do it, which made the game a little bit less competitive than what most people were expecting. And to make matters worse, that guy was everybody on the media was crying when Ashton Genty did not win the Heisman, and that game right there is the exact reason why I don't think he deserved to win the Heisman. We've seen hundreds of players like Ashton. We've never seen anyone like Travis. And really, it was kind of a disappointment in my opinion, because like all of the high-seeded teams ended up losing after they ended up getting a bye week, and I'm just like, wow, this is this is embarrassing. Like, this is very disappointing and it's not like a lot of the games were close. Granted, Arizona was the only team that was really close. All of these games ended up being in blowouts, and I'm like, when are we going to actually get a very good competitive college game? Like, most of the time, whenever I turn on the TV and I watch these college playoff games, they were always incredibly competitive, aside from I don't know, maybe Georgia going up against Kansas. That one time that they ended up playing. Maybe that was like the only non-competitive college football playoff game that I had seen in a while. And then come all of these 3 games back to back to back being nowhere near as competitive as what I was expecting. Like, you know, you'd want them to put up a little bit of a fight, because nobody wants to sit there and watch a game that's just, you know, the team is already 20 points or maybe even 30 points ahead of them, and the team that's down can't get a single thing to go on offense. I think we're finally going to get actual competitive games against actual competitive teams. I think all of these teams have a legitimate shot in winning the college football playoffs entirely, but we'll have to see towards the end. Again, my money is on Notre Dame in this one. I'm really hopeful. Now, the biggest concern to Notre Dame's success, in my opinion, is going to be quarterback play. Their quarterback is not really like a playmaker, not much of a difference maker for their team. He's more of like a game manager, where if it's like how should I put this? If you need a quarterback that you don't want to just mess up or lose the game, then that's your guy. But again, if you need a quarterback to win a game, I don't think that he is going to be your guy. And that's really the problem that I think Notre Dame is going to have to overcome when going up against a stout defense like Penn State, who is most likely going to be able to stop the run. And that's really the big concern that I have for Notre Dame. Like, a lot of people, I'm sure they're going to go ahead and pick Penn State to win in this one, but my money is on Notre Dame. Let me know in the comments who you guys have winning in this game and what you guys think is going to happen. But that's all that I have in the first segment. So now we're going to go into the second segment, where I talk about the Falcons and Kirk Cousins, because there have been reports saying that the Falcons are totally fine with having Kirk Cousins come off the bench, and I'm actually very surprised by that. So I'll be right back after this short break to talk a little bit about that. Be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody